Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be this Ambassadeur 5000D by ABU in Sweden. And this one's a pretty nice reel. If you look though, looks like it's been dropped on the handle. It's bent back a little bit. You can't operate the drag on it. And it's missing a cap. I'm hoping I've got one of those downstairs. Man, maybe not. I think we'll leave it alone. It doesn't have a screw for a cap to go in. Okay, but aside from that, the reel seems to perform pretty well. The anti-reverse is working on it. The free spool is tight, but that's a little better with just loosening it up there. Okay, but the drag doesn't work because the handle's bent into the knob. So we're going to take this apart. We're going to take it all the way down and service it and bring it back. We're going to start off by taking off the handle. I have more trouble with nuts getting stuck up in my nut drivers. Okay, set that over. All right, we would like to be able to take off the handle, but I don't believe it's going to come off without taking off the screw first. There's a screw on the top here. I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead. Ooh. Wow. That screw is really tight. It feels like the screw is stripped out in the hole. Okay, so what's happening is I think the main shaft is turning inside. Let's see now that we've got it loosened up if we can tighten the drag any. There. Now let's see if we can get the screw to come out. No. Okay, so this looks like it could be a problem. Let's there's more than one way to manage to do things. So let's try taking the side plate off first and come back and see if we can reach it from the other side. Hold whatever's spinning. All right, let's take the side cover off. Okay, we just lost one of our weights. We're going to take these two brakes, take them, and we're going to put them on a safety pin like I do springs to keep them from getting lost. Like so. Like so, like that. Okay, so that's got both brakes on the safety pin. Got the spool over here to the side, and okay, but now we're going to have to take these two screws out. I haven't ever had this problem with an ABU before, so I'm trying to figure this out as I go. That screw has always come out before. Okay, that's got those two screws out. Now we should be able to separate this from the side plate. And wow. No, that won't come off because the handle is attached. This is attached all the way through to here. Well, this is a fine mess you've gotten into. These little fingers here, which are designed to keep this from coming off. I've never had this problem before. These are designed to keep this from coming out without that screw coming out. But the screw is stripped out inside. And it's not, I don't want to break it because I don't know that I can get parts for it. I try pulling out on it as I turn it. See if we can get it to kind of release. I can't believe I'm going to try this, but I am. Okay, I'm going to hold out against this screw, putting pressure on it while I try to speed it out of there. I am not having any success whatsoever. Okay. Obviously, we're going to need parts here. All right, I've come to the conclusion that in order to get this off, I'm going to have to cut the head of the screw off. But since it's all stripped out inside there anyway, I know that I'm already going to have to replace that piece. I'm hoping I can find one. And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and cut this head off of this screw and see if we can get this thing the rest of the way apart so we can figure out what's bad in it, what all I'm going to have to replace, and what we can do. I've gone to putting on my safety glasses. All right, let's see if that'll do. There we go. Okay, we got that off. We should then be able to take the tensioner off, which has been flattened all worse than all get out. Okay, now let's go ahead and see if we can unscrew the drag adjuster. And of course, now the screw is going to spin inside there. Let's see if I can hold it steady. like so, in order to get that screw out. There we go. Okay, got that off. With that off, we now should be able to push this on out. Okay. Now, I would say so far so good, but that's not the truth. We have bad parts here. Okay. I set that over to the side, the collar and the washers, and there's another washer here. Okay. All right. Okay, now we're going to take the main gear off. And it has one drag washer, it looks like. We have an incomplete. Somebody's had this apart and put it back together wrong, which is why they managed to strip the screw out. At least that's what I'm believing. Maybe it's all that this little one has is one little drag washer there. That sure doesn't seem right. Okay, let's take off the anti-reverse. Set it over to the side. And let's take off the cog for the anti-reverse and the trip. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. I believe what's happening is as the post itself has broken loose from the body and it's spinning. That's what I think is happening here. Yeah, the post itself is turning. Wow. Well, if I can take the sleeve off without damaging, I might be able to locate this base plate. Let's take a look. Before I go any further into this, we might just have to call this a fail. And I hate to say that for Ken because he was kind of really liking this reel, and I think he negotiated what he thought was a good deal on it, but maybe it's not. Let me see if I can find this base plate for this. I'll be right back. Well, I went down to my parts bin. This stuff that my dad left me, and I found these two base plates, and from everything I can tell, they both appear, aside from the base metal color, they appear to be the same exact part. All the shape on everything is exactly the same. It all seems to work exactly the same. So probably what I'm going to end up doing is cleaning both of these up and inspecting them real good and see if I can't replace one of them with this one over here with one of these two. In order to do so, though, I still need this sleeve for the main gear. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to grind this screw back off the top in order to slide that off and be able to get the rest. That really critical little washer is still on this one. It's missing off of this one. The shafts on these are locked in really nice and tight. This one probably would have been if somebody hadn't dropped it on the end and jammed it and causing the screw to strip out. But all these really appear to be the same exact one. This one is missing that spring, which I've got 2 springs, one from each of these 2, so that shouldn't be a problem. This one does seem to be in the better shape, although I don't really see any damage to this one. It's just incredibly dirty. So I'm going to try grinding this off and see, once that's off, if everything underneath there seems to be the same on these. Everything that I can tell, though, appears to be the same. Well, I'll tell you, I do see a difference. The spring inside there, inside this one here, is a much smaller spring, diameter-wise, than this one. See how big that and heavy-duty that spring is? That's a much heavier spring there than the one that's in this one. Let's take a look at the other one. Okay, yeah, this one's got the big heavy spring also. So it looks like this is going to be the donor. It's going to come in and take the place of this. All right, so that means I've got to clean this one up. This one we're going to retire. It doesn't have the same spring. And then we've got to get this off. We're going to have to, nope, don't even need to transfer the spring because the spring's the same on this one, so that's good. We're going to have to transfer the pinion gear. And I'll be back with you in a minute. I'm going to see if I can grind the rest of the screw off the top of this without damaging this sleeve, and see if we're not ready to go on it. All right, let's see what we got. It's hot, so I'm not grabbing it with my fingers. Okay. Well, that looks pretty good. And that looks pretty good. All right. And the only thing I'm going to have to do is find a screw that fits that thread. And this beast here, it's still hot. Yeah, that shaft is turning. There's the washer. And that is not supposed to be turning. That's supposed to be locked in. All right, so things that I'm going to need off of here are going to be this pinion gear. And that's going to go onto this one, like so. And I think I'm ever so gently going to sand the end of this just to smooth it a little bit. Question is, did I damage it as I was grinding on it? Are we going to be able to screw these pieces back on? Sure enough, look at there. First, I've got to get this guy scrubbed up good. I'm going to show you guys how I go about doing that. This is already going to be a very long video, but I might as well. I have people ask me all the time, well, how did you get that clean? Well, it comes down to just a little bit of termination. Now, I don't have any idea how long this grease has been on this, how long these have been in my dad's pile and stash. But let's see what we can do towards getting some of the grease to come up. Yeah, it's looking pretty stout. Let's go ahead and take that pinion gear off. I want to clean it separately. Okay. Okay. In my aircraft days, we talked about things that didn't belong where they belonged, and we called it FOD, and they called it basically foreign object damage. Well, usually when you found FOD, it wasn't actually having caused damage, but it could potentially. Well, I found these two pieces right here down inside here. They do not belong there. They were in that parts bin apparently and had fallen into there and gotten trapped up underneath. So I managed to get them out, and I've still got a little bit of cleanup to do on this okay, I've got a good fit on that now, and I'm going to go take this part down and see if I can find a screw to go in here. It appears that I've pretty much got a workable part here, so we're going to go ahead and continue with the disassembly of the reel. We're going to move over to this other side. Let's go ahead and take this cap off. Okay. And it has a bushing in here, and you can take a pair of snap ring pliers and unsnap that and pull that bushing out. But I don't see a purpose in doing that except if you needed to replace it. So I suggest you just leave it in place and clean around that. Let's go ahead now and take the 3 side plate screws off. Okay, this has a clicker wire here, and I believe that wire is bent. I don't believe it's supposed to sit like that. I think that's been caught and pushed out of shape there. I'm going to see if we can take that off of there and straighten that up a bit. I don't believe it's supposed to be down there like it was. There. Okay, now let me snap that back into place. There we go. Okay, that looks much better. Still not where it needs to be on this end. There we go. And I think that'll work just fine now when that goes on. There's not one of those springs on this side. It's designed to just screw right down and stay. Okay, let's get back to this. Take the last screw out. Take this off. Okay, and this is our, wow, that is really crusty in there. I normally suggest that you not take this apart. You can pretty much clean them by spraying WD-40 in here. I'm going to show you the technique. let's see if it'll come clean that way. This one's really nasty. So we're going to spray some WD-40 in there. And approach this with a brush and see if we can give it a little turn every now and then as these chunks come out. Oh yeah, with enough patience, this is going to come out okay. Okay, we got this half of it cleaned over here. Now let's turn it around and get it to come back the other way, and we'll clean the other half. Now I'm going to remove the pawl cap. Like so, and be very careful. Some of these have a washer inside them. Some do not. But if you think there might be one in there, be very careful that you don't lose it. All right, got that off. Now, we're going to take the pawl out. There we go. Get that to snap out. And yeah, it's dirty. All right, turn this camera. I keep drifting off to the bottom. Let's turn the camera a little bit. And see if we can't get this pawl cleaned up just a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and hold this gently with a pair of pliers. And then I'm going to see if we can't scrape, there we go, with a wire brush, gently scrape that, and that'll get pretty much everything that's on there off and clean that up. There we go. Oh, got a little bit left right there. Now that's all off. All right, and I'm going to run a cotton swab up into it to clean it up inside. And then the final thing I'm going to do with that, let's go ahead and take Kent's tag off of here, since it keeps getting in the way. All right, is we're going to flush this out with some WD-40. See all those particles of dirt and stuff that come out of there? And I'm going to lift that up to that end. I'm going to flush it once again. And for those of you who absolutely insist on doing things the hard way, this metal clip right here, you can take and lift it out like so. Wipe the dirt off of it. Okay, lift it out. And then with that clip out, you can pull this off and scrub it that way. But you can see I mostly did a pretty adequate job of cleaning it just the way we did, but it still left a few little spots that, if I'd spent more time, I think we could have gotten those too. Okay, since I've got that out, let's go ahead and run a cotton swab down through this channel like so, and clean out any remaining gook that's in there. This is why you don't want to take it all the way out like I just did, because then it starts getting difficult to get everything to line back up. Okay, see now we've got the line guide over here that's out of whack. We got to get that back into place. We got to get all this line back up like so. Okay, with that done, now we can come back, put the worm gear back in, hook this piece back on, and lock it into place like so. And that's got that in. Then the next thing you need to do is put your pawl back in. Let's go ahead and get the rag out of the way. We're going to put the pawl back in. Now, before we do, let's go ahead and put a drop of oil inside the pawl carrier and drop that in. And now move it around a little bit, and what's going to happen is it's going to get into that worm gear, and then it will start to move. Okay, once you've got it like that, now it's time to go ahead and screw the cap back on. Don't tighten it down yet. Go ahead and screw it down some more. Get it to where it just starts to bump up against and stop, and then make sure that you've got full travel all the way both directions, and then tighten it down the rest of the way. Okay, that done. We just need to do a little internal cleaning, and I'll be back. I'll do that off camera. We'll finish that up. Then we've got this side over here, and this is your bait clicker over here. Clicks in and out like so. Your springs are here. I don't really see any need to take that apart unless you got a broken part, and then you can see how they go. It's just these springs hook on the ends right here. So there's not really much to that. And if you've got anything besides a broken spring there, you're going to be in trouble because these are riveted in. Okay, we can take this screw out so that we can take and easily clean this gear. Okay, we'll spray in here with WD-40. We'll spray into here, clean this gear up good, and we're going to clean everything up, and I will be back with you in just a moment. Okay, we've got some things put together now. Let's go ahead and see about putting some of the I got everything cleaned. Let's go ahead and start putting some of the sub-assemblies back together. Okay, we're going to start off with the side plate here. We're going to put this bushing back in it. It popped out while I was cleaning. So we're going to stick that back down in there, or at least that's the plan. And oh, wait a minute, we got a keeper spot on here. Let's line that keeper up right here with this, and let's try that. There we go. That's what it needed. It needed to, there was a little notch there, and that notch had to go into that notch, and I didn't see it at first. Okay, so we've got that in. We're going to oil that bushing, and then we're going to oil inside the cap. It's got a felt washer in here. We're going to oil that felt washer, turn this upside down, and put it back on. Tighten that down. Okay, and for now, this sub-assembly is ready to go. We're going to put another drop of oil in here and let that soak down. See, it's going to wick into that, and we'll set that over to the side. Okay, now we're going to move over to the next sub-assembly, which is going to be the other end, and we're going to put a drop of oil on the shaft here, and then we're going to set the gear back in like so, and we're going to put the screw back on. Okay, and it should spin easily, and it does. We're going to take and put a drop of oil, although they say you're not supposed to have to oil these, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on the springs so that corrosion can't get hold of them. And we're going to turn this over, and I'm going to reinstall this spring that was on the opposite side. Wait a minute, I got some cleaning. I didn't clean this side of this. Okay, now we're going to put this spring back on. Okay, And it's just a simple hook it in the groove. Yep. That goes with the hook pointing down. Hook this one end in the groove over here, like so, and then walk it around. And that should go into the groove like that. And now, when we screw this on, what we want to do is make sure that it hooks into this little slot right here as it's going around. And I'm going to gently lift it into that slot as I turn it. There we go. And it should catch, and it did. And now that spring acts as a tensioner for it. Okay. We've got this side done. Let's go ahead and put some oil in the end bushing, and we'll set that piece over to the side. And remember, we've already reassembled this, but what we haven't done for it is we haven't oiled it. So let's go ahead and oil the worm gear. We already oiled the pawl, and we're going to put some oil along this top runner up here. There we go. And I'm going to put a small amount of grease on this gear. Now this gear rides against that nylon. They say nylon gears don't require lubrication. They're self-lubricating, but this is a metal gear riding against the nylon, and I'd just as soon give it a little help if I can, which is what I've done. Okay, we're going to set that off to the side. That's going to bring us back to this piece here. Okay, this is the replacement. It's not the cleanest in the world. I'm gonna go clean it one more time. All right, that's about as clean as I'm going to get it. This is one of those cases where an ultrasonic cleaner would have really helped, but I don't have one. It would have been nice though to put one in to an ultrasonic cleaner for a while. I'll let it sit there. All right, now first thing we got to do is start getting some lubrication on some stuff. Now this one over here, let's first unlock it if it's locked. There we go. We need to get this one over here out of the way, like so. And we're going to wipe out the WD-40 that's under there. And last little second debris that I find. Okay, and now I'm going to take and we're going to grease this plate right here where this rides, top and bottom. We're going to drop, put a little grease on the bottom side of this guy as far as I can reach, and we'll pop it back around like so. Put a little bit back here so that when that does operate back and forth, it should be able to lubricate itself on that, like so. Okay. Okay. We're going to accomplish the same thing on the other side, but it won't move as far out of the way. It will only move just a little bit. So we're going to move it over a little bit, put some grease down, like so. And that's about all we can do for that side. Now we're going to push this in, like so, which moves them in further, both of them. And we'll grease a little bit under them again. And now these ramps right here, this is a ramp back here, okay? Normally these have two ramps. This one here just has one big ramp all the way across. And it slides in and out. Now you try to just pull this back, that's not gonna work. You actually have to have this piece with these two little knobs sticking on it right here, right there, in order to do that. And I don't know if you've seen any of what I've been doing. let's back up a second. I'm going to explain what I did. Okay, we lubricated underneath here, and we lubricated underneath here. And now I've activated it, and we're going to release it by putting this on here with these two knobs right here. Those are going to trip on these arms down here. Okay, rotate it, there you go. That releases. That's your click up release. Push it down, like so. All right, now, you might want to keep this on here at this point, but you can't, not yet. First off, let's go ahead and raise the yoke. And with the yoke raised, we need to take this pinion gear and grease the pinion gear. Okay, we've inspected the teeth and everything, made sure they were all in good shape. Now see this cutout here? That cutout goes on the bottom. Looking at this from the top, like so. Okay, with that in and everything lubricated, now we can rotate this. Good, we've got it rotated. That looks good. But before we put this part on, we've got to come back and put on this shim washer. Without that shim washer, those little posts keep rubbing on the bottom right here. And it'll cause the reel to grind. Okay, I've wiped out the inside of this with a cotton swab. We're going to come back and we are going to grease this post. Now, what normally happens is there's a screw that goes in the end here, and you take this cap off from the handle, and there's a screw at the top that's got a hole in it, and you oil down through that hole. Well, it just so happens that this particular one, I was not able to acquire a screw with a hole drilled through it. So in order to lubricate that, someone's going to have to remove the screw, put in the drops of oil, and then put the screw back in. Because that oil is going to drop down through this hole, and it will come out of this little hole right here in the side to lubricate this. Okay, we'll put a little in there for now. We'll slide this on like so, and now we're ready to start building this up. The first part to go on is going to be our anti-reverse cog and our anti-reverse claw. And what you got to do, they get these little fingers on here, so you have to slide that in there like that. Okay, see how it fits? It slides in between the claws. And we're going to sit this down on here, and what we've got to do is we've got to get that claw to line up with that post right there. Good. At the same time, we got to make sure that this pinion gear is not trapped like it is. There we go. Get it out from underneath there. Let that drop down. Keep the pinion gear over out of the way. Now we're ready for the next part, which is going to be this drag washer. And we're going to lubricate this with some Cow's Universal Drag Grease. Okay. We're going to put some on there. Doesn't need vast amounts, just a small amount. Okay. There you go. With that on, now your main gear is going to go on. Let's go ahead. For those who don't like to grease them afterwards, we'll go ahead and grease it in advance. Now this is going to go in with this cutout side down. Line it up on the flats and set it in place. Now you've got to make sure that it doesn't come down on top of that pinion gear. Okay. So far, so good. Next to go on the build is going to be this round washer. Next, this tension washer. The next round washer. This plastic sleeve. And then this copper / brass shim. Okay, and that's as far up as we can build that for the moment. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the cover back on. Okay, this is all cleaned out. We've lubricated in here. We need to make sure that our pinion is lined up. That's good. We have rotated this. Now you have to make sure this is something that will catch you right there. Do not let your anti-reverse claw slide out. Before you put this cover on, verify that it's back in there where it belongs and it's on each side of that. And do not rotate this again until you've got this cover on and screwed down. Otherwise, that claw is going to pop off. Okay. Set that in place. Make sure all the holes are lined up. And put your screws in. With your screws snugged up, make sure that you don't have a gap anywhere along here. Look, we've got a little bit of a gap because this button is out just slightly. There we go. And something in our pinion isn't lined up. Okay, so that's why you want to check it before you get too far. All right, we're gonna open it up, find out what's going on. With the cover off, it's working fine. I'm gonna keep my finger right here on the anti-reverse pawl to keep it from popping off. Like it just did, I think. Yes, it did. Well, it didn't come all the way off, it just come off the post. There we go. Okay, there's what's happening. This is it doesn't have the axle shaft going through it to hold it in place, so it's kind of getting cockeyed. Okay, keep that in place. Hit the button. Okay, post is in place. Rotate it. Okay, yeah, it's actually working fine. It didn't have that in it. Okay. Let's get back to where we were. Make sure that's still on. Now everything's getting greasy because I touched that gear. Push this in just a hair so that goes all the way down, and we're not all the way down. Something's not lined up. There we go. Make sure it's all the way down, and there we go, wiped off. Good. Good. Okay. Now we're ready to start the final assembly. First thing we're going to do is put on this side cover over here. And this gear over here is going to mesh with this gear. And we can set this in place and just line up the holes and it goes right on. We're going to take our spool, and I'm going to add just a touch of grease to the end of it here, and a little bit on the gear that rides against the nylon intermediate gear. And now I'm not going to put any up here on this clicker. Oh, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and put a little bit up there too. It will soften the blow just a little bit. All right, let's put that in. Let's see if the clicker's turned on. Right now, the clicker is engaged. Let's disengage it. And slide this in like so. Get it to line up. And it has. Okay, turn the clicker on. Up. Might have to wait on that till I get it back in. Yeah, let's just wait on turning the clicker on till later. All right, that's got that set to there. Now, okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be ready to put this on, but we've got to go back and pick up our brakes. And we'll put one on this side over here. And one over here on this other side. Like so. Okay, those are in. Now we're going to set this back on. And this post will line up with this hole right here. So if you set that up and line that post up, let's go ahead and add. I know I've oiled the bearing. It's up. I just lost one of the weights. Okay, our brakes. Slide the brake back on. Make sure that those are where they belong when you put this on. This post right here is going to go into this hole and get the axle shaft lined up. Okay, if you line those up, it should drop right in. You might need to loosen this a little bit, get it to go on in where it belongs. Okay. It looks like everything's down where it belongs. Give them each just a little tweak with a screwdriver. Okay. Now we're ready to put our drag knob back on, and I'm going to put just a little bit of grease right here on this inner edge right here where it's going to ride on that shim. And then we're going to screw this on. All right, now we've got this tensioner to deal with. All right, this tensioner got flattened when that handle got bent so badly. And so, well, we've got these little wings on the ends, and we need to have just a little bit of bend on those. So we'll put a little bit there. And we'll put a little bit there. See the shape it is now? That's what it should look like. We'll set this on place right there. We're gonna set our handle. Let me scrub this up a little bit. All right, now this handle, I got a little aggressive trying to get it off, and so I bent this piece here all to pieces. So it will still work fine without that, but it doesn't lock that piece on there anymore like that. So now we're going to put the handle on. I'm going to add some oil down the end of the shaft. We're going to put the screw in. Okay, put the nut back on. And let's see what we have. Okay, do we have any? Oh, we got a lot of drag. Let's back the drag off a little bit. Wow, it's still tight. All right, I'm back, and this thing is just giving me fits all over the place. One of the things that gave me fits over is the fact that I didn't realize it does not have a conventional style of drag system on it. I thought that it was just like every other Ambassador, but no, that's not true. The drag on this is actually linked into the anti-reverse cog on it. When you want full cranking power, you crank forward, okay, just like this. And when you're cranking forward, there's no slip whatsoever. When you want the fish to be able to run, you stop cranking forward, and now the handle will back up, okay? The drag on this, when you adjust it, determines how hard it is to pull the handle in reverse. The tighter it is, the harder it is, and the looser it is, the easier it is. That's your drag on this. It's much like the Johnson Laker reel used to be. So, yeah, not understanding how this drag system worked, I thought I had a defective system, but I opened it up and I kept looking at it. So, well, this thing's direct drive. There's no way that this can slip while you're cranking it. Yeah, that's exactly the truth. It cannot slip while you're cranking it. You have to let go of the handle for the drag to operate. So, some people really like that design. I'm not crazy about it myself. But finally, I have got this reel turned. I've got it serviceable again. And it's a tough little reel. It's not one that I would add to my arsenal because I don't like that style of drag system. The idea that I have to let go of the handle for the fish to be able to play out drag does not appeal to me at all. So, but there you have it. The Ambassador 5000D, and it's fully adjustable. Everything on it's operational. The handle's been straightened. It now can be disassembled without having to take a Dremel tool to it. And that's it. It's ready to move off to Ken. And if you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Tell me what you didn't like about it. And if it's because you don't like this reel, well, okay, I understand that, because I don't like this reel either. I don't like that design. But for now, that's Rick Stivers of YoungMartin'sReels, signing out.